God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life.
Your key to financial opportunity.
Chapter 4. A 69-cent item. New York Times, July 13th, 1986. New boom for Florida creates new concerns. With 1,000 new residents arriving each day, Florida's modern land rush is elating those who welcome enhanced political power and economic diversity in a state almost dismissed in the past as a vacation playground and retirement retreat. But at the same time, the runaway growth is bringing despair to those who worry that the damage it causes, in both environmental and human terms, far outweighs the profits and the increased national stature to be gained by the addition of 3 million to 5 million people in the next 14 years. From an impoverished backwater a few short decades ago, Florida has been transformed into a superstate of 12 million residents, and by the turn of the century, at current rates of growth, it will be the third largest state in the country. For the first 3 months of 1986, tourism in the state spurted ahead by 16%, with 10 million visitors. Florida is real upbeat at the moment as it emerges as a major state, but it still hasn't found its identity yet, and when a state grows this large, this fast, the costs are enormous. The Florida ethos, a frontier mentality. America's last frontier, represented as the Wild West, had freedom, independence, solitude, and exploration, admirable qualities, but also, like the West, the Wild South had a dark side, as sometimes the freedom to explore might regress into the freedom from responsibility. The frontier has always been a source of not only great imagination, but inspiration, driven by a hunger for the fast escape and the quick score. But at the day's end, rather, land's end, the frontier mentality is on balance, neither good nor bad, but a very different mindset than what seems to exist anywhere elsewhere. As an object of lust and ridicule of the other 49, as to the state dangling off the body of the continent, to this day seeks to encapsulate Florida in a single narrative. But in Florida, what is normal? There are countless stories of those lured to the Sunshine State, largely by empty promises, settling for little more than gusts of devilishly hot and humid air. And it's a fact that most Floridians have indeed come from elsewhere, to a state mishmashed with unintegrated and wildly different peoples. Indeed, collected to no deep, shared mythology, but instead, a boiled-down motley crew composed of backstories that shift like sand underfoot, without a single solid base, keeping the whole standing as one actual body. Florida has had many frontiers: imagination, greed, missionary zeal, disease, war, and diplomacy, all encompassed by the depths of the bodies of water that might serve as the subconscious of those running to and away, or simply seeking something, anything but the norm, the humdrum, whether it be a week-long getaway with friends or family, or dragging that mismatched family to a new frontier for the foreseeable future, in hopes that in an exotic land, new beginnings might be more fertile, promising settlers in a promised land, where all guarantees halt as swiftly as white sandy beaches are washed away into the wide open expanse of the sea. Now that we have sprinkled a dash of frontier mentality into the pot, throw in a handful of heat, and exotic behaviors shall certainly burble to the surface. One uncomfortable fact of life is that some states in the US are more violent than others. Social scientists attempting to figure out what makes societies and communities more violent have led to the emergence of a somewhat controversial model for understanding violence, one with the acronym CLASH, short for climate, aggression, and self-control in humans. The theory argues that climate is the primary driver of aggression within any given locale or society. Basically, that living in a place with greater seasonality and lower temperatures prompts people to be more future-oriented and more greatly value self-control, which researchers call the slow life strategy, as opposed to the fast life strategy associated with hotter, less seasonal places, those of which are located closer to the equator. In the United States, that would be Florida. The theory states that climate shapes planning in a lot of ways, such as the inclination to hoard for the winter or planning ahead for the next season. And while winter kills off many environmental threats, hotter places have more venomous animals and infectious diseases, adding to the unpredictability. According to CLASH, violence comes from people, consciously or not, assuming that they're going to have shorter lifespans, less planning for the future, less self-control, less strictness about time, less use of birth control, having children earlier and more often, and a 14% increase in conflict. For example, globally, there are 26 homicides per 100,000 people in Central America, compared with 5 per 100,000 in North America. On a regional level, in the US, the South has more crime than the North. And even in Italy, there are more mafia-related killings in the South than in North Italy. It is important to note that the poverty rate also gradually increases the further south a population might reside. This model explains that there is indeed a direct link between temperature and violence, arguing that warmer temperatures put people into a more highly aroused state, which primes impulsive and potentially aggressive behavior, also suggesting that crime goes up with temperature because people are more likely to be out in public places, making them more exposed to potential conflict, which aligns with the statistics that crime rates increase in the spring months as winter wanes and people get out of their house after a long winter being cooped up inside. But the question remains, does climate create the cultural predisposition to violence? Or is such deadly behavior a direct reaction to the heat? Or might it be a combination of both? Police officers have long referred to summer as the busy season, and for good reason. Ample evidence indicates that criminal activity increases alongside the temperature. Studies highlighting seasonal changes in criminal activity abound. Data reveals that crime rates increase dramatically when the heat index approaches 100 degrees. This trend occurs not only between seasons, but also within the same season. In those terms, how does a heat wave affect crime in Florida, where some experts theorize that even in Florida, where hot weather abounds, even a slight increase can exacerbate irritable behavior, which is more likely to lead to violence? And what of those snowbirds who flock south in the winter months, seeking the warmth of the Sunshine State? Might the sudden change in temperature affect their threshold for impulsive behavior, as vacationers are indeed suddenly caught in a mindset more disposed to commit violent crimes? Given these theories and facts, Floridians should not take solace in the region's year-round warm temperatures. Not only does the weather fluctuate considerably in Florida, but as vacationers, wanderers, those running to something and those running away from something, as they hit that wall of heat, their cognitive processes transgress, from good to worse, and even from worse to worser. And when all combined and stirred in a hot pot into a sizzling stew of often fractioning diversity, Florida remains united by one fact, that Southern Heel is one of the most dangerous states in the nation. For example, Florida is one of the states with the highest incidence of road rage. According to the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, there were over 13,000 reported cases of aggressive driving in 2020 alone, resulting in 68 fatalities and countless injuries. That number shooting up to 6,880 cases in 2021, a drastic increase of 21.5%. In 2019, there were 237 human fatalities on Interstate 75. That is 13.27 fatalities per 100 miles. Of those 237 fatalities, the stretch of I-75 through Central Florida had the highest number of deaths of all interstates in the nation combined, with 15 casualties per 100,000 people. and though the opinion as to whether or not traffic stops decrease or actually increase traffic deaths, it is a primary role of state troopers to promote highway safety and enforce traffic laws through traffic stops.
Control 7, I know road stop.
Exterior I-75, Ocala, Florida, February 9th, 1985, 10:30 p.m. While on a routine traffic patrol in Marion County, Florida State Highway Patrol Trooper James F. Robertson observes a 1979 yellow Corvette T-Top cruising at a high rate of speed coming up behind him. The trooper increases his speed to pace speed clock the Corvette, which itself speeds up and passes the trooper. The trooper turns on his flashers on blue light and proceeds to stop the vehicle. As the Corvette pulls off onto the side of the highway, the trooper reads the tag by radio, XHG-296, for a check on the car. As he approaches the Corvette on the driver's side, the driver only lowers his side window 2 to 4 inches. The window is covered with a dark, non-transparent tint. The trooper asks the driver to step out of the vehicle and stand to the rear with his driver's license. The driver, a black male, obliges, exiting the Corvette by swinging his feet out to the ground and stepping from the vehicle. It is now the trooper spots the butt of a gun in the crack between the right seat edge and the center console as the driver moves his right leg to get out of the car. The butt is in the area where the right hand of the driver had just rested on the gear shifter. Behind the car, the driver produces his valid Florida chauffeur's license with an Ocala, Florida address. For his own safety, the trooper frisks the driver, 39-year-old Willie Earl Glover. The trooper asks the man to stand by the front headlight in the light, and he removes the firearm from the crack of the front seat. The pistol is not securely encased, and had been within easy reach of the driver as mentioned. The trooper removes the wood grips of the pistol and asks the dispatcher to run a check on the gun, a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum with a 4-inch barrel. The gun is loaded with 5 rounds of ammo, copper jacket hollow points, the same caliber and condition as those found at the Tenneco murder scene. The check on the serial number of the weapon comes back as a stolen gun from a residential burglary out of Battle Creek, Nevada. The trooper places Glover under arrest for unlawfully carrying a concealed firearm, grand theft of a firearm, and the suspected homicide of Merle Chet Reeder. Interior, Marion County Jail, February 10th, 1985, 01:04 hours. Investigating Officer J.R. Whitman explains to Mr. Glover his constitutional rights. Officer Whitman, do you understand each of these rights as I've explained to you? Mr. Glover, I understand. Having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk with me now? Yes. Just for the record, would you please state your full name? My name is Willie Earl Glover. Okay, Mr. Glover, where are you residing? Silver Springs, Florida. Okay, you were arrested tonight? Yes. What were you arrested for? Carrying a concealed firearm and a stolen firearm which was stolen? Okay, did you know if it was stolen? No, I didn't. Okay, how did you come about obtaining that firearm? Well, to reconstruct tonight, my wife and I went out with my sister Betty to celebrate her birthday, okay? Like I had just got to bed. So like I told my wife, well, I want to ride it tonight. So we went to Frank's first, and we sat there, and we laughed and talked, and we all left to go to the Brown Derby, but they left before I did. So when I got ready to leave, which was about maybe 10 minutes after they had, I noticed my cigarettes were low. So I was going to go to poor old Mac's on West 40 to pick up a pack of cigarettes. So like I went there, pulled my car up and by the telephone booth to protect it. I got out, walked in, got my cigarettes, and I was walking back to my car and a fellow came up and he asked me, hey Earl. He knew me by my name. I say, yeah, what's happening? And he say, hey man, I want to know if you can handle something. So I say, what? He say, man, my family cold. He say, I ain't got no heat for him. He say, the only thing I got is this pistol. He said, can you let me hold 50 for the pistol? So I say, where is the pistol? He reached under his sweater and got it. Sat down. Well, he didn't, I'm wrong. He didn't sit down in the car because I hadn't opened the car. He walked on the other side of the car. He reached under his sweater, got the pistol. I stood there, opened the cylinder, looked at it, and I say, okay. And I reached in my pocket. I had a $50 bill and I gave it to him. It wasn't a hold, he was selling it. I had no idea that the gun was stolen or anything. Okay, when he approached you, you were sitting in your vehicle? No, I was walking from the store. From poor old Mac's? Yeah, from poor old Mac's. It's all one big parking lot. Did you make a purchase while you were in poor old Mac's? Yes, I did. I bought a beer and then I bought the cigarettes. And on the way to the car, he must have approached me when I must have been about 10-15 feet away from the car. Okay, do you recall how much you paid for the beer and cigarettes? I don't, but I know I must have had 15 to 20 loose dollars in my pocket that I paid for it out of. I carried the 50 in my wallet, the only bill I had in my wallet. Okay, do you remember what the cashier at Poor Old Mac's looked like? It was a lady. A lady? And to be more sure, it was 3 fellows. One said something smart, and so like I said something to him. He said something smart to you? Uh-huh. I said something to him, but it wasn't any kind of confrontation or nothing. He laughed, and I walked out, and on the way to the car, must have been about 15 feet away from 15 to 20, that fellow came up on my blind side, but he called me by my name. I turned around, and he ran a sob story on me, telling me about, he didn't have no heat and stuff. Okay, so the cashier was a white woman. Yeah, the cashier was a white woman. Okay, you don't recall how much your beer and cigarettes came to? Sure don't. I just pulled and paid. Okay, so you start walking towards the car, it being a yellow Corvette. Yellow Corvette. Okay, and that's when the guy approached you. Is he a black male? He's a black male. Okay, describe if you would, describe him the best of your ability for me. Okay, he was about, he was dark complexion. His hair was short, not the typical afro style. Okay, was it braided or anything? No. If I can remember correctly, sideburns came down to maybe his earlobe, and I can't remember much, but he just looked like a regular black person. Do you remember if he had any facial hair, mustache, or beard? Almost sure he had a mustache, no beard. Okay, you seen this black male before? Uh-huh, yes. I mean, I know him by sight. I don't remember the last time I saw him or where I know him from, but I know him when I see him. Okay, you were born here in Ocala? Born and raised in Ocala. You've been here all your life? All my life except for, I was in the army and I lived up north for a while. Okay, if you see him again, could you recognize him? Yeah, so he knew you well enough to call you by name. He called me by my name and said, hey Earl. Like I stopped, but everybody know me. I come from a popular family. Okay, where are you currently working? I work at Pro Trans up here on 833 Northwest 10th Street. So he approached you and asked you if you could take something for him. Yeah, and he came and said, let me think. He came and said, let me think. He said, Earl, and I turned around. He said, I can't remember whether this is verbatim or not, but I'll give you the essence of what he said. It's something like, can you something for me, or can you help me, or something of that nature. I say, what's happening? And he said, look here, I got something. And so let me see. Hold on. He said, hey Earl, turn around. I say, yeah. He said, look here, I'm in a bind. This is essence, not verbatim. He say, I'm in a bind. So I say, what's happening, or something similar to that. And he told me about his family. He didn't have no heat in his house. His kids were cold, and he got this pistol that he wanted to sell. He walked on the blind side of the car, like the car parked at the phone booth like that. Well, the service station is over here. Over this side of the car is the open lot. Okay, the phone booth there on the west side of the station. The phone booth is on the east side of the station. East side? Right. Right there's the exit. Towards town? Towards town. Okay, my car was parked right there at the station. Were you pulled into towards the station? Well, like when I pulled into the station, I pulled up by the phone booth because you got fiberglass tires, you don't want to. So really, when you parked, you were facing south next to the phones. Okay, let me reconstruct the place for you, okay? Poor Old Mac's is built like this. You got a turn that come in here, the pump's over here, right? So like when I came through, I pulled through, you got a phone booth right here that you pull back on 40, leave. Well, I parked right there by the phone booth. Okay, right out by 40? Right, okay, I was coming to my car from in the store and he met me and came up to my blind side. I don't know whether he was in a vehicle or not. That's the fact I don't. Only time I recognized him or saw him when he say, hey Earl. And I turned around, he said something like, I'm in a bind. Okay, was he alone? He was by himself when I was talking to him. Can you describe his clothing he was wearing? The only thing I can remember is he had on a brown v-neck sweater and that's all. Long sleeve sweater? A long sleeve sweater, and I don't know what kind of trousers. I don't know what kind of... I didn't really pay attention very much. I didn't pay very much attention. You recall that he was wearing a hat? No, he wasn't wearing a hat. So when he handed over the gun to you, it was in a holster? It was in a holster. Okay, was it snapped into the holster? It was snapped in. So you unsnapped it and you pulled it out. Pulled it out. And you looked at it. Opened the cylinder and, like you got this ejection rod? Yeah, like I just pulled it back, thought ejecting them. Okay, and I put it back, snapped it back, and reached in my pocket. Do you recall how many bullets was in it? 5. It was an empty chain. 5 was in the chain. I think like I say, it wasn't nothing for me to do. And the cylinder spins okay? I'll say it was 5. Was it loaded? Was it full? Was there any shells missing out of the cylinder? I didn't see the head of the bullet. No, but I mean, was all the cartridges inside the cylinder? Do you remember? As best as I can recall, there was 5 bullets in it. But I won't say I'll go down to the fact. I think it was 5. Okay, so it was a 6 shoot capacity. It was a 6 shots. Then there would have only been 1. There would have only been 1 blank. I honestly cannot tell you that there was 6. I honestly can't. You don't recall one missing. I don't. Okay, after you got it, you put it back in the holster? Put it back in the holster. And you put it down between the seat and the console? When I got it, I told him okay, reached in my pocket. I gave him the $50 bill that I had in there. It was the only bill I had in my wallet, period. I gave him a $50 bill, walked back around, and had the pistol down by my side when I opened the door. I got in the car, I stuck it between the seat and the console, and pulled out. Okay, did you re-snap the holster or anything when you put it in the car? I would say I did. Okay, I can't say for sure, but I would say that knowing me, I would. Did at any time after you got the pistol, did you fire it or test it or anything? No. So as far as you know, the gun has not been fired by you? No, none, no. Okay, it has not. No period at all. Between the time when Mr. Robinson put his headlight on me and the time I got would that be Trooper Robinson? Yes, it couldn't have been no more than 5-6 minutes. It couldn't have been no more than that. Okay, alright. If I mention something to you as far as me asking you questions, on the evening of Thursday, early Friday morning, I advise you, we had a robbery homicide at the Tenneco station on State Road 200. And if I'd like for you to tell me what you were doing on the night of Thursday and early morning Friday and where you were. Okay, my Thursday night is just like Mondays and Tuesdays. My Wednesdays is, I'm a working man and I don't go out and party through the week. I was home. Okay, you want me to tell you what I was doing home Thursday night? What I was doing? I watched the basketball game Thursday and Friday. I watched the basketball game, Washington and, who did Washington play? Okay, this Thursday night. Thursday night on Channel 8, I watched Washington and, NBA or college. NBA. I forgot who Washington played, but I watched the game all the way through. They went into double overtime. Isaiah Thomas made the 2 points that sent it into the first overtime. Okay, so about what time was that game on TV? Game came on at 8:05. Okay, after the ball game, did you stay at home? I went to sleep. I don't know whether... No, I didn't. It didn't go into the second time overtime. I saw the complete game, but I went to sleep. I went to sleep. Turned the TV off directly after because I had my TV in my room. In your bedroom? Okay, and you just went to sleep. Was anybody else present? My wife, my kids, I got a sister live next door. Okay, so you were home all night Thursday and into bed. Because I went in and told my wife that she would have to take my kids or, my son got chicken pox. My daughter was having trouble with her throat, so my parents live over by my job. So I told my wife that you carry him this morning because I wanted to bring my van in and try to get my van straight. And I drove in by myself and she brought my kids over to my mom and dad's house. Okay, what type of van do you have? Got a Ford van. Ford? A 663 Ford Ecoline van that's been sanded down to be painted. What color is it now? It's maroon. Maroon, okay. Mr. Glover, you went to work on Friday? Yes, I got there about 7. I opened the place. Have you ever at any time been in that new Tenneco station where this incident took place? Be honest with you, I don't know what Tenneco station you're talking about. And that's honest. Okay, do you know where the Red Lobster is on State 200 across from the Paddock Mall? Yes, Okay, then I can tell you I've never been out there. You never been out there? No. So there will be no known reason that your fingerprints would be anywhere. None whatsoever, period. I never been there, I never been there. I haven't been to Paddock Mall in about 3 weeks, maybe a month. There's no reason for my fingerprints to be anywhere in that vicinity. I haven't been out that way and I don't know how long. Okay, when you bought the gun tonight, getting back to the gun, in the beginning, did you, like you stated to me, you were doing him a favor because his family was cold, right? Right. Okay, did you suspect any time that the gun was stolen? No, I just thought he was looking out for his family. Okay, is that why you think he sold it so cheap when he could have got more from it? Yeah, that's why you can buy almost anything I got if my kids are cold. Did you think at the time the consequences if you would have been caught with the gun? I didn't think about it. I sure didn't. Didn't even think. I didn't think about it. Honestly, I didn't. If I would have stopped for a minute and thought, wouldn't have done it. Like I told you when I was arrested, I'm a convicted felon. I had guns when I got out of jail. I sold every gun I had. I never purchased another gun. Never had another in my possession, period. I was just being a fool, I guess. Okay, how long has it been since you fired a gun? That's a good question. Just a rough estimate. Couple weeks, months? Nowhere near that. Years? Let's get into years. Have you fired a gun within the last year? No. Okay, would you allow me to, some tests? Do it. Okay, would you allow me to do a residue test on your hand? Do it. Okay, I have your permission to do that? You got my permission. Okay, you swear that the testimony you have given me is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Nothing but the truth, so help me God. Nobody has promised you anything or forced you in any way or threatened you to give this statement. None whatsoever, none. Okay, this will be the end of the interview. Time is now 1:26. Interior, Marion County Jail, February 11th, 9:43 hours. Investigating Officer J.R. Whitman. Mr. Glover, Can you tell me again how you came about getting that gun? Well, back in, I got it, it was given to me as a gift. I can't remember if it was a special occasion, such as a Christmas or a holiday that you exchanged gifts on or whatever. Been a while since it happened. Okay, what's a while? Okay, I can try to pinpoint the time, okay? I don't know the exact month, but I'm going to try to relate instances when I know the gun was in my presence and try to trace back and pinpoint when it came into my possession. I got hurt on the job in 79 and I was under doctor's care and I'd never been in any kind of incidents or anything between us. She was a friend of a friend that I had, so some kind of way we started seeing each other frequently, and at that time I was under some financial stress because I had been laid off from work. I got hurt on the job and I had some compensation. She did help me out tremendously with quite a few things. One day I ran around to her house and one evening she said she had something for me and she gave me the pistol. She didn't tell me where it came from or where she got it from. Okay, go ahead and describe that pistol for me. It was a .357 Magnum that was in the holster. A brown holster? Right, a brown holster. The gun was in very good condition. It was, you recall the finish of it? It was blue steel with walnut grips on it, wooden grips. Okay, was it a short barrel, long barrel? I'll say it was a 6-inch barrel. Had a 6-inch barrel on it. 6-inch. I don't know guns, just that I measured the barrel, but it wasn't a short. I didn't measure the barrel, but it wasn't a short barrel. It wasn't a long barrel either. I say it was in between a medium barrel. Could have been 4 inches, could have been 6. 4 inches, okay. 6-shot capacity revolver. Had you ever fired that gun? Yes, I fired the gun before. Okay, when approximately was the last time you fired it? It hasn't been within the last 3 months, I know that for sure. I usually go fire a gun on New Year's night, around New Year's, but this year I didn't, like last time. I remember firing the gun. It was, I'd have to say I had it stashed away for quite a while. I just happened to be in that part of my closet one day and it was there and I got some shells for it and I only think I shot the pistol 2 times. I have the remains of the box of the shells at the house. When was the last time you bought shells for it? The time? Well, I can tell you the time. It's when I purchased the shells one Saturday evening at Gibson. Fired the pistol that evening and it was out of Baseline Road. I fired it twice and it was only 2 times that I fired the gun. The first time I fired it, was when I first got the gun. I carried it down to Immokalee with me. I had a watermelon truck and I went down to haul some watermelons and they had a lot of tomatoes and alligators and all that kinds of stuff. I must have fired the gun maybe a half a box in the field where they haul the watermelons from. It was about 8 miles in the woods and the man that owned the property also fired the gun. Ernie, a retired highway patrolman, he has a farm down there. So he happened to see the pistol in the truck one day and he admired it and he asked me if he could shoot it. So I went and got his .38 and we fired some rounds off. Okay, so the last time you bought shells was approximately what? 3 months? 3 or 4 months, yeah. Okay, where did you keep this gun after it was given to you? Well, one time, recently I kept it in my nightstand. But I pulled it out of the nightstand and put it on the floor and pushed the drawer back in case my son should get back down there. Then I switched it from there after he started getting into some size and I took it out and put it in the closet, far back in the closet, under some long sweaters and things. Okay, and that's where it's been until the evening of the 9th, when you were arrested. That's where it's been. What made you take it out that evening? Well, as a general rule, I don't go out in Ocala. Too many things happen to too many fellows, die in too many places. Just ain't any safe places around blacks frequent here in Ocala. And because of that, my wife and I don't go out in Ocala very much. I'll stop to see some friends, I'll say hey to some acquaintances, but usually my people don't frequent the places, where you park in front and drink a beer. If I see some brothers there, I'll stop and have a beer, but I never dress to go to places like that. I never leave the home purposely. If I'm riding around, I might stop and see some of the fellows if I run across them. And anyway, I carried the pistol because I was carrying my wife out and I was going to a place where, not to be involved personally or anything, but the type of people for your own protection. Yes, for my own protection, that's all. Have you ever been arrested prior to this incident? Yes, I was arrested for felony possession of marijuana back in 1974. Okay, you remember the other night when I spoke, I made you aware of an investigation that's now taking place on a robbery homicide. You recall that? Yes, sir, I recall it. And I asked you what you were doing on the evening of the incident. You recall that night I was talking about? You were talking about this Friday night, right? Friday morning and late Thursday night. Friday morning. I told you I was at home. And who else was present at home? Let me see, I don't want to lie to you. Were you out that night? No, I was out either Wednesday night or Thursday night. I was with 2 people at all times. And what were y'all doing? Well, I went to the Brown Derby and, I was going to the Brown Derby. I went that way. We stayed in the Brown Derby. Did you carry the pistol that night with you? No, I didn't have it. I didn't have the pistol that night. And after we left the Brown Derby, I took Rose home to her house over there in the projects. Took Bill Cora home over there in the projects too. Okay, before we go any further, I explained to you what perjury was, right? You're aware of what perjury is and what it means. So be sure of what you tell me now. This is the truth. I feel bad about the other interview I gave you. Okay, what was your reasoning for making those false statements? I made a false statement about being out because, like I say, it's a normal habit. I don't go out very much. I honestly just didn't remember. I had been out one night early that week because I don't go out and do nothing during the week. I'm working. I had gone out that night because, but I was where I told you I was going. At any time did you stop to get gas at the Tinaco? I never went to the Tinaco, period. You're aware that a man was murdered. Well, you mentioned it to me at the jail Saturday night. I told you that I played my radio and I heard something about a robbery, a murder, but I wasn't, do you know how he was killed? Well, I read the paper yesterday and it was on the front page about the probe still continuing, and I read that he was shot twice. I read that in the paper yesterday. Okay, would you submit to a polygraph test? Yes, but I want my lawyer present for that. That would be fine. For any reason, should any of your fingerprints or anything like that be at the Tinaco station. No, the last time I was over there on 200 at the Paddock Mall, I had a membership card to One Stop Video. That's on 200. Well, they moved, and I heard they moved into another shopping center, so I don't know where the Tinaco station is you're talking about. I've never been there, and that's a fact. I never got gas out on that end. All right, have you been truthful with me? This is the truth as far as I can possibly remember. There's no lie, period. Did you have that gun on your person when you stopped at poor old Max? No, I didn't. So there will be nobody to say that they saw you with that gun? No. Stuck in your pants? No, I came to the house, I put the gun in the car. Like I say, honestly, I forgot the gun was in the car. It wasn't on my person in no time. It was a big gun. I don't carry guns. Like I say, it was for protection. I don't, like poor old Mac would be a threatening place or anything like that. It's a store, and it was brought out for that purpose. Did you drink the beer while you were at Poor Old Max, or did you take it with you? I paid for it and walked out, got in the car, and pulled out. Okay, and will you take a polygraph to the effect of the Tinaco? I will the polygraph. With your attorney present, I understand. I'll let you know that at this point in time, you were a convicted felon, you were in possession of a stolen firearm, you had that firearm concealed in a manner that it was breaking the law. You had given me a taped statement previously where you swore under oath that the statement was true. Now you're taking this statement to which contradicts the other statement which you had given me, so you wanted to clear the air. And we sat here and we cleared the air. Okay, is there any part of this statement that is not true that I will find out? There is no part of this statement now that is not true. So this is the complete truth. Yes, it is the truth. Okay, this will be the end. End of the interview. Time is now 10:18 a.m. Interior, Ocala Police Department, day. Working off a lead, Investigating Officer H.L. Leary calls up on the phone Tinaco Management in the hope of gaining further information concerning an unknown white male who may have worked with the victim from time to time. We hear a female voice on the other end of the line inform the investigator that she believes that she had seen a white male working in the station with the victim from time to time, and that she considered it to be suspicious that he was not there on the night of the incident. She now changes the subject to tell Officer Leary that one thing has come to mind. A man by the name of Philip Villanoga had been creating disturbances at all the Tinaco stations in Ocala, that his wife had worked at the South Pine station, and that the man appeared to be disgruntled about something. Interior, Ocala Police Department, Valentine's Day. Investigating Officer H.L. Leary sits down at his desk with a cup of coffee to read the Ocala Star banner. And reads about a shootout in Colby, Kansas. And like that, one name stands out to him like a sore thumb. Daniel E. Remeda. A name he is not only familiar with, but one he can put a face to. With a strong hunch in his gut, he calls up Chief Spray of the Colby Police Department on the phone, requests more information on the subjects, and in turn, Officer Spray provides details concerning the Ocala shooting. Spray agrees to get back with him after doing some checking on the subjects, stating just before the two get off the phone, "I do believe this bunch to have been in Florida at the time of your shooting." Interior, Ocala Police Department, February 18th, day. Officer H.L. Leary is on the phone with Special Agent Bruce Meller of the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. We listen as the voice on the other end of the line states that he had talked to Remeda and that the suspect had told him that he was in fact with Mark Walter and Lisa Dunn in Ocala at a gas station where they had stopped to buy beer. He said Dunn had stayed in the car as Remetta and Walter entered the station. He was taking a 6-pack of Stroh's beer from the cooler when suddenly Walter fired 3 to 5 shots at a 50 to 60-year-old bearded clerk. Remetta had stated that he had dropped the beer. Miller says the subjects were allegedly driving a 1971 Olds Cutlass, blue in color at the time, and that a loaded Smith & Wesson Model 19 .357 Magnum revolver had been recovered after a shootout. And he adds that Walter had been shot and killed by Kansas authorities in the shootout. Interior, Ocala Police Department, February 25th. Investigating Officer H.L. Leary has received another call from the KBI agent Bruce Miller, and we listen as the voice on the other end of the line informs him that neither Lisa Dunn nor Daniel Remetta is willing to talk to Ocala investigators at this time, and that both have been appointed attorneys by the court. He adds that not only is a package containing fingerprints, photographs, and other information in the mail to Ocala, but that they had tracked down another subject named Tom Cantrell in Livingston, Tennessee on the 21st, who may have been involved in the killing spree. He adds that Cantrell has possibly waived extradition to Michigan, where he is wanted on robbery charges. Miller says that he had contacted Sergeant LeFou at the Manistee County Sheriff's Office in Michigan, and that Sergeant LeFou had advised him that Cantrell had left Michigan on a bus sometime around January 26th and may have met up with Remetta and Dunn at this time, but that there was no indication that Cantrell was ever in Florida. He says that he and another officer would be interrogating Cantrell within the hour, and that he would be sure to inquire about his possible being in Florida, on or about the time of the homicide of Reeder, also offering to send fingerprints to Cantrell in Ocala. Officer LeFou also learns from Miller that while the subjects were in Florida, they were staying with a man named Dale Goss of Plant City. Interior, Ocala Police Department. Investigator Leary is informed by Commander W.R. Fugit that the lab had completed its comparison of projectiles concerning the death of Merle Reeder, and the sample ballistics fired from the Smith & Wesson Model 19 recovered by Kansas authorities are identical to those removed from Reeder's body. Interior, Ocala Police Department, February 26th. Investigating Officer H.S. Leary receives a call, and we listen as the voice on the other end of the line informs him that Cantrell has denied being in Florida with Remetta. Cantrell will be offered a polygraph either this week or next, and Leary will be advised of the results. Based on additional information Leary receives, he tries to contact Investigator Lee Baker of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, but Baker is unavailable. He leaves a message. Interior, Rawlins County Jail, Kansas, March 2nd, 2:50 p.m. Investigator H.S. Leary, Tommy Muthers of the Orange County, Florida Sheriff's Office, suspect James Hunter, and his attorney Robert Lewis are present in the interview room. Investigator Leary: Okay, Mr. Hunter, you want to go ahead and tell us who the people are that you met and where you met them at? Okay, there was this Danny Remetta and a girl named Lisa, and the driver's name, I think it was Mark. I don't know his last name. And they picked me up hitchhiking out on Interstate I-35 on the north side of Wichita on the 13th of February. It was around 11:30 or noon, somewhere in that part of the day. And they picked me up, and I asked him, I thought we were going, he said we were going to Colorado. And I asked him if they were taking 70 highway, and he said yes, that I could ride along with him. And I got in the car, and we were driving north, and I was asking him, I was explaining to him, I was coming back through Texas, but I was coming back up the interstate for an insurance settlement, and I was going back down, and they told me they was coming from Florida and coming up through Arkansas. Mr. Hunter, can you describe what kind of car they were driving? It was a blue car with a red primer on the back end of it. I'm not sure what the make was. You remember if it had a vinyl roof on it? Yeah, I think it did. Remember what color it was? I think it was black. It had a Michigan license plate on it. While you were riding in the car at any time, did they mention to you of any illegal activities that they had committed while they were in Florida? Yeah, they said that they had to get out of the state, that they were driving. As we were driving along, they offered me some beer, and I was drinking beer too, and the girl asked me if I knew how to put a 22 automatic pistol together. I told her if that's anything like a military 45, I probably could, but I've never seen one, and she pulled out a 22, and it had been put back together, but the bolt wouldn't slide open. It had been put back together wrong, so she took it apart. And I dickered with it for about 15 minutes, and I got it back together right, and I gave it back to her. Then they were telling me, I asked them what they were going to do, and and they said they were driving around the country, and they said that they would work somewhere for a while and then take off a little while and go off toward, I gave him the gun back, and he filled the clip and fired it out the window. Fired the full clip out the window a couple of times. 3 or 4 times, and we stopped at a drive-through McDonald's, stopped and got a case of beer, and then went back out on the highway towards 70 Highway. Okay, Mr. Hunter, I guess we're just, we're gonna show you some photographs, and ask if you can identify these people. Okay, first of all, yeah, that's me. That's you? Okay, alright. Do you know who this is? Yeah, that's the Danny, Remetta. He told me he had a beard when he was in Florida. Said that he had a beard? I don't know if he was in Florida. He said he shaved his beard and dyed his hair. Can I get you to just simply write down the name of the people that you recognize? And write down that you didn't know him as Remetta during the trip. Yeah, I just met him. I thought his name was Randy. I wasn't paying much attention. Yeah, we now know that. We know. You now know? Okay. Okay, so write down his name. How do you spell Remetta? I believe it's Remetta. Is that the pretty girl that was driving with him? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. And what name did she go by? Lisa. You seem a little unsure. What makes you wonder whether this is the girl, James? Well, her hair wouldn't like that. Okay, well, maybe after you just look at the face, yeah, some build, some face, but the hair is a little different. Okay, well, hair can be changed, in other words, but that's the same face otherwise of Lisa that you know and that you rode with. You wouldn't mind, I'll have you indicate that on the back. I didn't know her last name. I never did know her last name. Okay, that's alright. Just, the first name will be fine. So you're sure that's the same person in the photographs? And also, did Remetta have any kind of accent at all? Spanish? Somewhat. I don't know if it was Spanish or not, but you can distinguish it from, well, you can tell he wasn't no Southerner. Okay, would you go ahead and tell us what happened? Well, they got out the 70 highway where I was supposed to get off to go east to Kansas City, and they just shot across there and took off. I told them, I said, this is where I get off. And they said, well, we're going east, and just headed on down there. And the kid was driving with them, just looked at Remetta or looked at Danny, the Danny guy, and said, go, just keep going. We drove off on the highway, and I said, well, I said, I'm gonna finish this beer, and y'all can just let me out anywhere, Anywhere's fine. And then we came to a gas station. This Danny went in and got something, and I think he was buying gas or oil, I don't know, and the girl was talking to me. He came back and pulled out a carton of cigarettes, a bunch of sunglasses that he stole from inside of there, and was getting back out toward the highway, and he said that he should have took that place, and he started laughing, and he said that there wasn't nobody around except for that attendant, and that at the time he was getting on the highway, and I thought, well, what the hell? He said that nobody did hear a gunshot go off, and I started freaking out a little bit, and he said that the way they were getting their money, and that was the way they were getting their money, and then he started telling me that the girl said that the way they did was they'd go in and buy something, and then the old boy would open up the cash register and they'd rob him. So they didn't have to open the cash register themselves, and she said that way, he said that way what they do was they'd shoot the guy. Who would do the shooting? Danny. Danny would shoot the guy. And then she would take the dollar bill and take one and, use it for a rag, just take it and pick up the money and take the tray out of the cash register and then put on some plastic gloves, take the money out of it. And that was her part of it, Did she say where they had done that? I take it that's the way they were getting their money everywhere they were going. Okay, did they say whether they still had the rag with them or not? She said that she had her plastic gloves. Yeah? And I was kind of in shock, but it was I don't know, seemed like a couple of teenagers the way they act. They got a girlfriend, and then they all huggy and kissy bullshit, and then laughing about everything. So tell me who's who. The huggy, who's the girlfriend? Was she Lisa? It was Danny's. Danny, okay. Who appeared to be the most, I guess you'd say, the leader of this group? What's his name? Not the kid, the guy that was with her. And that would be, Danny, what did the kid seem like? The one that got killed? Mark. I never did know. He didn't talk like he was very old. He was pretty stupid. I don't know. Did he act kind of like a puppet? Just tell me, what do you do? Did they ever indicate, or did he ever indicate that he ever shot anyone, killed anyone? Oh, the kid? Yeah, the kid. He said that they were both shooting and at that shootout up to the rest stop. Yeah. Okay. What did he say about that? that it was an old man in a camper, that they went up to the window of the camper. I took it was a kind of like a pickup truck with the window on the side, and he asked him if he had a tire tool, and they said that the old boy told him no, and they said he pulled a gun on him. And he said, "You got a gun?" And he said the old boy reached up above him and pulled the gun down, and they took off running. Started shooting back and forth, and there was a bunch of people sitting there, and they got in the car and took off shooting. Did they tell you anything else that they may have done while they were in Florida? They just said they killed somebody down there. What did they say about the girl? All they said was that she was about 24 years old, and he said that he felt a little bit of remorse about killing her. He said he didn't like killing animals, but it didn't bother him killing people. Who said that? Rametta. He said he did feel kind of sorry for killing her because I think he said she might have had kids or something along that line. Did he indicate he killed her in Florida? No, he never said. He just said that he killed somebody there, and he told me about killing this girl and killing a man for $45. Okay, what did he say about killing the man for $45? Well, he's looking at that girl, and they started laughing. He said, "Geez, said I could have got the electric chair, gone to prison for life for $45." And things chewing around when they left, and they had left the money in a hotel room underneath the mattress, and they had to go back and get it. Said what kind of motel it was? No. He said anything else about killing a man for $45? No, he just didn't seem bothered. It just didn't seem to bother him for killing people for money. Did he say which gun he used or? Yeah, well, as we got down after we pulled off that gas station, and then he was talking about they should rob the place, and he pulled out this here, it was a 357 they had, and they called it something or another. I can't remember what they called it. Some girl's name. He whipped it and opened the cylinder on it, and he said it's her old man's gun. And I take it they just bought that 22 somewhere. They said they got it at a flea market. That's what they told me. One asked me if I could put it together, and then I clipped it shut, stuck it back in his coat, and that's I take it that's his little toy. Okay, and who had the gun in the hand? He did. He had it in his coat. That's the first time I've seen it there. Which one you talking about? Rametta. Okay, when they said that they would put something up on the counter for the to get the man to open the register, did they ever say what kind of items they put out on the counter? No. And was the shooter that just put the item on the counter, or did they indicate that might have been someone else? Remember what I just explained on that was that she did the buying part, and so he'd open the cash register, and then he'd pull the gun on him and back away from the cash register, and she'd take the money and he'd shoot him. Did they ever say what kind of items they were buying, ever at all? No, he mentioned the fact that he only got his money back for it's like a big joke. Did they say anything what they were doing with the money or any other property that they may have taken, jewelry or anything like that? No, I don't know. I don't know what they had in the trunk. I never did see anything in the trunk. The only thing I seen was what they had there in the back seat. Okay, like what? Go ahead. Well, wait a minute. While we're at this point, you said something about he always got his money back. Just wait a second while I change the tape. Alright, okay. So you said that he always got his money back. Did he ever mention the time that he didn't get his money back? No, not that I can recall. Did he mention anywhere in Florida where they were at? Where they stayed? Yeah, he did, but I can't remember where it was. It was a beach somewhere. If I mentioned some names, would it come back to you maybe? Daytona Beach, Sanford, Orlando, Tampa, Polk County? They did mention Orlando, but I don't remember if it was from being at the beach or not. Did they mention anything about any other females other than the one that they shot? No, they told me about a hitchhiker they shot. What did they say about that? They picked him up and they was going to steal him a car, and he didn't take it, so he said that I should have just gone ahead and shot him right there. They say what they did with him after they shot him? No, they didn't shoot him. He said he wished he had. Oh, they indicate where this was? It was in Florida. They had another dude with them at one point in time. From the way they were talking, I don't know who he was. Did they ever mention his name? Would it ring a bell if I brought his name up? Von Trail? No. Anything else that they would have mentioned on their rampage? Not that I can recall by head. Let me think. Did they ever show you any property that they may have gotten from their adventures? I don't believe so, unless it was that 22 pistol. Did they indicate that they used the 357 in the rest of their shootings? Yeah, they asked me how they could shoot. He says, I don't understand that they shot that girl 5 times, and he said he never seen so much blood, and he showed me these shells he had from that gun, and one was kind of like a hollow point deal, and the other one wasn't. Okay, this is the girl he supposedly killed, here in this photograph. Let me see here. he said he let her out and he told her to take off and told her he wasn't going to hurt her. He chased her into the woods and shot her. Then he said, then when it came out in the paper, they had found her in the road, and he said, I knew she wasn't dead, but I don't see how she could have lived with 5 of them shells in her. Did he ever indicate where he shot her at? No. Do you have any idea where the bullets hit her at? And you're not sure whether it could have been anywhere between where they picked you up and in Florida? No, they didn't really say. They told me that they had killed somebody in Florida. And this is the one for $45? I'm not certain. He told me that. Those are the only 2 people he told me about killing, and he didn't distinguish where he shot him at. I mean, what part of the country, but he did say that he couldn't go back to Florida because did they indicate to you that they were getting their money from gas stations? Well, this is after we got on the highway coming west. They never said nothing about before we got up there. This is when they stole the? No, it's after they stole. Okay, that's with this is where they should have robbed him. Yeah, this is the way they've been making their money. So this is the way they've been making their money? Yeah. Remember what kind of store it was? No, just a regular gas station was it a gas station convenience store type? He asked me, he asked the old boy that ran the station where he could buy some 22 shells. How long were you with him? I mean, was it a full day and night or no? It was still light when they had that roadblock up there. Yeah, I think that was about 5, 6 o'clock if I'm right. Yeah, the men over there told me that was about 5 or 6 o'clock, I believe. But did it seem like just a bunch of kids on a wild streak? Well, first they just seemed happy-go-lucky, and so I got a little worried when that they had that gun. When she pulled that gun out, and I thought maybe they was going to take my bags and kick me out. I didn't know what to think. I mean, a lot of people were, it was like truck driving. They might kill you? Yeah, especially when they started telling me all that stuff. I mean, just pick somebody up you don't even know and start blabbing. Did they ever talk about guns they had discarded or thrown away? He said something about he wished he had that shotgun he hid. You have any idea what they did with that shotgun? Because I believe they found the shotgun shell in the car. He said that he had one, and when they got to Colorado that they'd get another one. And the kid that was driving said, I want one too. They said something about some other people that they were in a motel room with when they got in an argument, and I think that's where the other shotgun went. In where? These people that were in the motel room, I can almost remember what he said, something about they were arguing. Oregon? I can't remember. They got into an argument with somebody there, somebody they were running with. Oh, argument. I thought you said Oregon. Argument, okay. I wasn't sure you said argument or Oregon like the state of Oregon. Did they say anything about why they spray painted the car red? Oh, yeah. What did they say about that? Well, I asked him, I said, what'd you do this for? And he said, no, this is a real fine car. He said, we just had to change that while we're getting out of the state. Did he tell you what they did? Yeah, 2 cans of spray paint. Did they say where they got it or how they painted it? Never mind, let me go back to the incident in Florida about the $45. Did they describe the person they shot? Did he tell you anything about him? What he looked like, how old he was, or anything like that? No. Did they tell you about anything else that they did in the store? Not that I can recall. Show you anything? Lordy, he may have said something to that effect. I can't recall. I can't rightly recall. He said something about messing something up somewhere along the line. I don't know. I was telling about having to buy a whole bunch of pop one time. I went to a 7-Eleven drunk and fell into a stack of them, knocked them all over and broke them all, and I had to buy them all. That was you? Yeah. And well, they said something, I brought that up. I can't remember exactly what it was. I remember all that broken pop bottle. Did they ever know anybody that they killed? My hunch, what I was trying to remember, I was trying to think if they was talking about getting rid of somebody that they were running with, or if they just got in an argument and they left. I can't remember what the deal was on that. Did they ever say anything about dropping anybody in a gator pit? Yeah, as a matter of fact, they did. What did they say about that? I thought they was joking, that's why I was asking about that. I thought that was just for tourists to feed the alligators. Yeah? Yeah, they said something about that. By God, they did. Somebody that they were arguing with? It might have been. They was talking about, I can't remember what they said. They was arguing about this, or when they brought up the deal about wishing they'd killed the hitchhiker, and that's what got me worried. I don't know, he got me a little worried when we got on the highway, so I just started drinking beers, and I thought maybe if I got drunk, he'd keep drinking them too, and I'd get the hell out of there. He talked about a bunch of stuff. I don't remember. He's rambling on about his uncle calling him Charlie Manson for his crazy ass going around killing people, stuff like that. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that bit about the gator pit. I thought he was bullshitting about it though. You think somebody he was arguing with maybe in a bar? I'm pretty sure the way he was talking, it was somebody that, it was supposed to be his partner or something along the line, but I don't remember. Did they ever have a specific way that they approached these gas stations when they were telling you about that? Whether they would sit and watch? He said that when he killed one of those people that they just drove away real slow and they came to a stop sign and just looked real inconspicuous and the police drove right by him. They said they'd never take off from one of those places. They just like nothing ever happened. Yeah. Did they ever talk to you about what they were doing before they went in? Like, were they sitting back and waiting for, pick a good time? No, they never mentioned that. Is there anything else that you could remember that may help us either find any bodies or solve any of these murders? He had mentioned the fact that they always find the body too soon. What did he say about that? He said they had a way to get rid of the body, okay? So y'all got back on the highway. Did he ever mention any of the highways or any of the roads they were traveling? Not that I can recall. I know I wouldn't know any down that way anyhow. Did they ever mention a time when they drove up and they didn't kill? No. Did they ever argue about any rape that may have happened, that may have been done? Was she ever jealous of any of his victims that may have been raped? Well, they kept saying he was going to Colorado that night, and I figured that the only way I was going to get out of the car was if they went into a motel that night and went to sleep. I figured I'd get the hell away from them, and I said something to the effect of wanting to go, and I said, y'all get to Colorado and you can take me downtown and buy me a piece of ass. And she looked at him and at the time, and said, you can go out and buy a piece of ass, ain't gonna have no rapes. And then the kid was driving said, well, he can go in a bar and spend $30 to get a piece of ass. You got anything else, Hunter? You don't remember something more about the shooting in Florida or the holdups? Try to condense what you've told me. And he would walk into the service station or convenience store, whatever it was, put something on the counter so that the man would open the cash drawer. And when he opened the cash drawer, they shot him. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, this normally would be Lisa that would buy something. Rametta would normally be the one. And I remember you used to be able to hitchhike. Side 2, time 3:19 p.m. It doesn't pay no more. The thing that got me is I always thought the driver was supposed to watch for a hitchhiker. I never knew it was the other way around. Okay, what I was trying to get at a minute ago was that, did they ever indicate to you that the driver, this young kid, the one that was killed, did he ever say that he shot anybody or killed anybody? I said that he was shooting when they was at that deal. Okay, this would be the shootout with the old couple in the trailer? Uh-huh. Okay, but not after that. Is that right? Uh-huh, not that I can recall. Okay. And you're making it appear that Danny was actually the leader. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. This will conclude the interview at 3:20. Okay, I did mention that one that his uncle was supposed to give him some false identification and a passport to Canada. Did he ever mention who their uncle was? No, somebody just west of Denver is what he said. Okay, we'll wrap this up. The time is 3:21 p.m. Meanwhile, back in Ocala, H.S. Leary contacted by phone the manager of the Tenneco station, Mr. Holes, regarding the register tape that Reader made on the night that he was killed. Mr. Holes stated that he had seen the register tape and removed it from the cash register. However, by morning, when an officer came to collect it, it could not be found. Mr. Holes stated that he asked the area manager about the tape and was told that he did not have it. Regarding the last transaction ran up, Mr. Holes stated that the amount was positively 73 cents. Saying that the 73 cents corresponded to the sale of a package of gum for 69 cents plus tax, making it 73 cents total. The investigator asked about the price of bubble gum, and Mr. Holes said that the price was actually 40 cents. However, he had been having regular problems with Merle Chet Reader regarding the bubble gum since he had been working there. Chet had been told several times, Mr. Holes said, but nonetheless, Chet continued to ring up the gum as a 69-cent item. Interior courtroom. Mr. Springstead. That's 2 prints taken off there, is that correct? Officer Stewart. That's correct, 2 Latin lifts. Proceed to number 15 if you would. 15, it is 1 Latin lift recovered from the front cashier counter to the right of the cashier register, right in this area. Now this is the same cash register that apparently the money was taken from. That's correct. And that was 1 print. That's correct. Did all the members of the jury get to see that? You'll be able to see all this stuff later. And this is 1 Latin lift from the front cashier counter also. This is number 16. Does the state have an objection to him putting a little diagram on this sketch like he done to the other one? Why don't you put a little diagram on there and show where that came from like you did with the other ones? Officer Stewart doodles a sketch. Mr. Springstead. Okay, thank you. Officer Stewart. This one is from the inside of the west door of the business just below the handle. That would be Q17? Right. And the diagram on the back depicts a door? Right. Officer Stewart, it might be helpful if you take your microphone around and speak into that also. Can the ladies and gentlemen of the jury see this far? Can we bring this a little closer? We can bring this a little closer if you like. Can everybody else see it all right? AQ depicts it is two simultaneous lifts where the tape is matched together of some prints on the ice cream cooler on the east wall, which would have been this one, right adjacent to the cash register and the counter? That's correct. There's no diagram on that. Maybe you should just quickly put a little diagram on there as well. Thank you. How about number, what are we up to? Q19 depicts 3 lifts from the top of the ice cream cooler in the same location. 3 prints. Q20 depicts the same, only 1 Latin lift. Q21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 are all Latin lifts from the cash register. How many does that total? 11. So there were 11 Latin prints lifted from the cash drawer. That's correct. You can take your seat again, Officer Stewart. Thank you. There were 11 prints taken from the cash register drawer itself, and none of those could be tied to my client, Danny Remetta. None of those were proven to those belonging to Daniel Remetta. Isn't that true? I don't think so. Well, in response to Mr. Gill's question, you said no. I don't think so. So what's the response to my question? Is it going to be any different? No, I'm not the Latin print examiner. I don't think there was any. You told Mr. Gill there weren't. That's right. Is that what you're going to tell me? There weren't. Thank you, but there were 11 prints taken off that drawer. Prints that I thought were of value. There's a number of prints that we do not collect and that I did not believe are of value for identification. So it's quite possible that someone may have done this particular deed who could have left one of those 11 sets of prints on that cash drawer, isn't it? Yes. Now you found prints more or less in several areas throughout the store, is that correct? That's correct. And would it be fair to say, Officer Stewart, that you in fact used every technique known to you as a crime scene technician and an expert in that respect to lift every print available within that store? Yes. Fine, thank you. Now Exhibit 19 appears to be 4 Polaroid photographs and 4 negatives. These negatives are what produces these positive prints. That's correct. I'm going to put the negative back in. We don't need to worry about that. Would you tell the jury again what these are, where they came from? I believe all of them came from the front cash register counter. These are the Latin prints which we have photographed under laser light and dusted with riboflavin to enhance them. And again, none of those 4 prints turned out to be those that belonged to Daniel Remetta. Is that correct? That's correct. Officer Stewart, this is the bubble gum that is seen in all those photographs, is it not? Yes. And this was processed for fingerprints, was it not? Yes. For the presence of Latin prints? Correct. Were any Latin prints found to be belonging to Daniel Remetta on this? No. Let me ask you this. Did you process the cooler door where the beer was? Yes, we did. Did you look at any Latin prints taken from that door? I believe we found some smudges, but no Latin prints that we could say were probably of value for identification. So in summation, Officer Stewart, with regard to the evidence that you processed at this crime scene, you did not process any tangible evidence that directly implicated my client in this incident, did you? None for Latin prints, no. None for Latin prints, no. No further questions, Your Honor. On August 22, 1985, Daniel E. Remetta was extradited to Ocala, Florida from Kansas and was charged by authorities with first-degree murder in the case of the homicide of Merle Chet Reeder.
I'm Cory Zimmerman, and this is Spoon River Gothic, Season 2, Death Rides the Highway, a thrill ride fueled by murder and terror. Think, feel, and understand the world around you with Spoon River Gothic Podcast, because we go where the others don't. We dive deeper. And if you want to plunge even deeper into our true crime tales, please subscribe to Spoon River Gothic Agency. That's SRG Agency at www.patreon.com/Spoon River Gothic Podcast, and access the Spoon River Gothic Podcast case file for bonus weekly episodes available on Spotify. And also included in the Patreon case file are investigative materials such as exclusive audio interviews, trial footage, police files, court documents, photos, diagrams, and more to accompany each Season 2 episode of Death Rides the Highway. And if you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. It means more than you know in this cutthroat world. And until next time, work hard, party hard, keep a vigilant eye over your shoulder, and don't forget to watch each other's backs. This is a sideways world we are living in. And again, that's www.patreon.com/Spoon River Gothic Podcast. Subscribe now, because there's always more to the story.
Ever wonder how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see? More than you think. Your name, contact info, social security number, home address, and even information about your family members is all being compiled by data brokers and sold to the highest bidders online. That means anyone on the web, criminal or investigator, can get your private details, which, as true crime enthusiasts know all too well, increases your risk of identity theft, phishing scams, harassment, stalking, and unwanted phone calls. As a podcast that exists publicly and shares our opinions online, we are hyper aware of safety and security, and all this data being so easily searchable on the internet can have real-life consequences. This is why Spoon River Gothic is proud to partner with Delete Me, the #1 service in online data removal. Delete Me finds and removes any information you don't want online and makes sure it stays off. Their dedicated team finds and removes your personal info from the largest people search databases and helps prevent potential ID theft, doxing, stalking, and phishing scams in the process. That's why I personally recommend Delete Me for protecting yourself and your personal information. Sign up at joindeleteme.com/spoonriver and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts will take it from there. As part of their subscription service, you will even receive personalized privacy reports showing what they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. Their experts are always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want accessible online. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal info off the web and making your personal profile no longer anyone's to sell. So join us at deleteme.com/spoonriver, because no one wants to be a victim nor a suspect. So get protected, and the next time a case hits too close to home, you won't find yourself asking the stranger on the other end of the phone, "How did you get my number?" Go to joindeleteme.com/spoonriver and get started today.
Death rides the highway.